misconception to think, and it's a misconception to think that, oh, I need to know everything before I start doing, right? That's how that's a mentality that was given to us in school, but that doesn't work in the entrepreneurial and business life. You don't learn and then you apply. Entrepreneurs learn most of the time. Entrepreneurs come up with innovations. So when Elon Musk did that, uh, I don't know, that car or that satellite, he had no idea how to do it before. So there's no way he could have paused on his idea, gone to school, and then came back to the idea. It was the other way around. He was like, okay, what I'm going to make my venture my school. So whatever it is that I'm doing is going to be my new school. And the beauty of it is you don't have to be an expert. Like Natalie doesn't need to be an expert at what Counselor Foster does, and vice versa, right? You only your activity, your venture is your school, and you only need to be an expert in your own school. And that's the beauty of business. And business models, you can Google like the business model of Twitter, for example, or the business model of WhatsApp, or the business model of Tesla. And it's the only way it's going to help you is it's going to help you become more familiar with certain terms, but it's not going to work for your business. And even if you are in the same field, same like I run an agency, I have competitors, right? They cannot replicate my business model, and I cannot replicate their business models. It's supposed to be that unique thing, emphasis on you, uh, that unique thing and that unique way of doing things that help you get ahead of the competition. First of all, it's supposed to be proprietary, meaning everything that is in your business model, only you should have. Only you should know, only your business should know. If your competitor can do it, I'm not saying you don't have a business model, but you don't have the right optimized business model. Because the more um you have exclusivity, the more you have intellectual property in your business model, the more successful you can be. And I always like to take the example of Elon. Yeah, he's sending like like satellites in space and then bringing them back. It's hard to replicate, right? And Michael Porter is a strategist, is very known in business schools. He has this theory that says we have five forces that act against our businesses, right? So these are external forces, and one of them is very important, which is the barrier to entry. When you do something and everybody else can just watch you do it and just do it themselves, then it's bad for business, right? Because most of the time, and always keep in mind, and that's my mentality for everything. Marketing, I always act like I only have one marketing dollar. So if I only have one marketing dollar, I really need to know where to place it and who to target to get the right client who's going to buy my product. So if I spend that one marketing dollar in the wrong way, I lose my one opportunity of, making a sale and keeping my business alive. So that's how I treat every expenditure that I have in my business. So I always act like I have that one marketing dollar. So that forces me to know exactly who I'm targeting and through which channel am I going to reach that person. So it's the same thing. Uh, like Porter says, you need a barrier to entry, meaning even if someone sees that you're doing something, they're not supposed to be like, "Oh, I can do it as well." Because I always act like I have the least resources in the world. So there's always a guy or a girl with more money, with more friends, with more people in high places, meaning they have a lot more resources. So if I create something that is duplicable, then that person, and I assume it's going to be profitable, so that person can just, in one, like something that I spent 7 years building, they can just snap their finger and they have it tomorrow, and my business is gone in terms of competition, in terms of market share. So I always focus on how do I create something that is not duplicable, that someone cannot just look at and be like, okay, I'm going to retrofit that and do it as well. So it's the same way a business model is supposed to have that level of uniqueness. But just to start, as you know, I use the framework of the 4K entrepreneur, which was sent to you guys via email as well, which explains really the foundation, the four pillars of really becoming a five-star entrepreneur. So first of all, you need to know what you don't know, and you need to know certain things pertaining to business. Like, and that's just knowledge, right? We're talking theory. But then you need to be able to do things as well. So this is your capacity, your to execute something. So decision making, for example, you may know connaissance knowledge, you may know that you need to make decisions, but you may not know how to make the right decisions. So this is a competency that an entrepreneur is supposed to develop. Pricing, you may know that, yeah, I'm supposed to be able to give prices to my products and services, but there are ways, actually multiple ways, and you don't have to master all of them, but you need to understand that, okay, I can't just decide on my pricing just, by a gut feeling or anything. There are ways that I need to learn how to price my products and services. So that's just competence. And then there's networking, the way you can connect with other people, your staff, your friends, your family, but definitely your customer, and as well as strategic partners that that are around you, resources that are around you. And then last but not least, your behavior, your attitude, your mindset, the way you see life, etc. And yes, I understand, counselor, that you did not get it because this is the first time you're subscribing. So I don't know, Ron. I feel like we need to come up with a system where the new people who enroll can still get the past emails just so they can catch up to the program. So like I said, it is a program. It's like like I said, the reason why you have to come up with it's not going to be the perfect marketing plan. You have to come up with a marketing plan anyway for the year because your business is live and it needs to run. So while you're learning all these things, you also, have something that's happening for you. And we're gonna review that. So in our and the way we do this is we have different sections, these different Ks. We have 4Ks. So we go through each of them one after the other in every session. So this is our first K, which is comportement, which means behavior, attitude. Um, Also can be translated as mindset. And like the last time, it was about like it's always day one. Is that Jeff Bezos mentality? Like it's always day one. So you have you're 10 years deep in your business, but you still need to treat it like it was day one. And you had no customers, you had no system in place, and you really had to, keep that focus and keep growing, right? And we shared a quote where he said that if it's not day one, if it's day two, then you're already in on the decline and your business is falling apart. So you always have to keep that it's always day one mentality. So today, entrepreneurs use tools, right? And a lot of people know I'm a natural, I'm a natural. I've seen my grandpa, my father, and they were always business people, and they were doing it, and I inherited from that same, blood in my veins. So I see business and I can do it, and I'm a natural. That's fine. But real entrepreneurs understand that there's no need to reinvent the wheel. A lot of businesses succeeded because they invested a lot of money in doing research and a lot of money of creating tools. So an entrepreneur understands that for everything that they need to do in their business, there's a tool for that. The same way iPhone came up with there's an app for that when they were marketing their app store. So there's a tool for that. So we just, in terms of mindset, what I want to ingrain in your brain today is that everything that crosses your mind, every part of a business, there's a tool for it. Actually, there are multiple tools for it. And you don't have to master all of them. You just need to find the right one for you. And some of them are more universal than others. And today, for example, we're gonna look at the business model canvas. So this is, very, very popular, like ABC type of thing that everybody uses to set up a business model. So the business model canvas. But there are tools for everything to make decisions, to figure out what channel to use, to document your customer, your ideal customer, like what you call a customer persona or a customer avatar. So there are templates and tools that already exist on the internet or in books or in tutorials or in courses, etc., that are already there. And you don't have to. And I know sometimes you just want to wing things. You just want to, you know what, let me try alone and see what happens. But I guarantee you that you're going to be more efficient if you can just take your time and you know what? It was a 2 hour thing. I'm gonna just take 15 minutes or 30 minutes out of those 2 hours to Google and like or ask my coach, my counselor, or anything. Or what tool do you think I could use to do this and to do that in my business? So an entrepreneur has the right toolkit. So you need the right toolkit to do it. And that's the bit for the behavior. And whenever I have an idea, and I have a lot of them, the first thing that I say, okay, so what is the tool that exists that's going to help me do that? So that's the most important. And to be honest with you, strategy is a big thing in entrepreneurship, marketing, and branding, but in entrepreneurship in general. Strategy, as you know, nowadays the term is is being used a lot. A lot of people are, with the advent of artificial intelligence, a lot of people who feel like their job is being, they don't know what's going to happen in the next few years. So they're trying to reposition in themselves and they start to call themselves strategists, even though they're not necessarily. But so the term strategy is being thrown a lot. So I really wanted to take a little bit of time to explain what strategy really is. Strategy actually, etymologically comes from the word general, actually. So it's a war term. It's about, like knowing how to fold your enemy. But, not to be belligerent. So that's just the historical meaning of it. But what it really means is you are in point A and point Z is your destination. Point Z is your goal. So strategy is these three things. First, you need to know where you are. So you need to be able to really audit yourself, analyze yourself. And the tool for that, speaking of tools, is a SWOT analysis, SWOT. It's an acronym. The S is for strength, W for weakness, O for opportunities, and T is for threats. So a SWOT analysis helps you understand where you are. So my strengths is that I'm fluent in English. That's just an example. Fluent like university scholar level, meaning so that strength makes me think that well I can offer translation services. I can do a conference, be a coach like for an international audience, etc. So that's just the strength points me towards something. I also have weaknesses. My weakness is etc. etc. And that weakness makes me, because I write it down, I can then think, I need to find a way to compensate for that weakness. So the SWOT analysis really helps you figure out where you are. So the strength and the weaknesses is internal. So this, like myself, my business, right now we haven't launched yet, or etc. So this is for the internal part. And the OT, so the opportunities and the threats, is external. So what are the opportunities out there? Maybe I can reach out to my friend who runs I don't know, a magazine, and maybe I can ask him to mention my business in his magazine. So that's an opportunity out there that I'm not necessarily capitalizing on. But there are threats as well. So the T is for threats, and you list it. Maybe it's your competitors, maybe what you're thinking of doing was started with the pandemic. So the threat maybe it's gonna go away. The opportunity is gonna go away in a couple of years. So you really need to write all of these things down. And SWOT analysis, I don't want to sound like I'm addicted or anything, but you can do SWOT analysis every day, actually, for different fields. So it doesn't have to be specifically in your business, but you can think about your career. So what are my current strengths? What are my weaknesses? Where do I want to go next? And what is out there that maybe wasn't there yesterday? Maybe you're in the position you are right now because the landscape was in a certain way, and but today there are so many things changed, and there are new opportunities out there and maybe new threats. So you can do a SWOT analysis from time to time to really make sure that you're on the right path. So SWOT analysis helps you figure out point A. This is where I am. And then you have the point Z, and point Z, a lot of people, they choose their point Z based on a whim. Like I want to have $1 million, or I want to become the president of the United States. But there's no basis really. Like why? Why do you want to go there? Why do you think you should go there? Why do you think this is a real path? So in terms of tools again that we were talking about, I did not plan on talking about all these tools today, but personality tests. When you do a personality test, um, personally, my favorite is the Myers-Briggs one. So Myers-Briggs, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, so let me type that in the chat. Myers-Briggs. That personality test for me is the best one, and it's really, really, really accurate. So it helps you figure out who you are, what your strategy in life is, like how do you cope with the things that happen to you and around you. And that tells you as well if entrepreneurship is for you, if management is for you, if you're a people's person, do you need to be the face of the company, or do you need to get with someone who, who can be the face of the company? Do you need to be the CEO? Are you organized enough? Are you decisive? Are you decisive enough to be the CEO, or does, maybe it makes sense for you to give that position to someone else, even though you own the majority of the shares? So like knowing who you are really helps you get the right point Z. Because one of the mistakes I see people make is they set up point Z's and they spend their life trying to reach that point Z, but it was the wrong point Z all along. So it's really important. It's not just chase your goals, chase your dreams, but you really have to make sure that they are the right goals and the right dreams, right? So knowing who you are, knowing your strengths, and we spoke about Ikigai as well the last time. Understanding that this is the sweet spot for your passion, your finances, your knowledge, your potential. Make sure this is the sweet spot where everything like is there, and you go for that particular goal. So now that's point Z. Once you get that point Z, strategy is the B, C, D, E until you reach Y. So it's the middle point, the bridge between your point A and your point Z, where you are right now and where you want to be. It's the how. Strategy is a clear, defined set of steps that you're going to undertake to take you from point A to point Z. So the last time we dropped some bars, and this is a tradition, so we have to drop some bars today as well. And today it's about strategy. So nowadays the word strategy gets thrown around so much, but it's really about knowing when to go south or to go north, having a clear map of the how and the route to grow up. It's about getting to wow, whether it's fast or slow bucks. And I see a lot of people make that mistake as well. They they want like that fast money and like, yeah, I need my activity right now and I'm gonna set my business right now. And they jump on the first opportunity, and most of the time it's small fishes and low hanging fruits. And there's no passion and there's no way to, there's no room to grow really. And after a couple of years, they give up because they get bored and, life happens and, their situation changes. So one of the advices I could give is, which is basically choosing the right point C, but really take your time and give yourself a big Z, right? A big Z that is going to fulfill you in all the levels that you can think of, not just finances, but your mental health, your connection with humanity, with other people, your impact on the world. Like, what's the point of being here and doing, big business and nobody knows you, nobody understands that what you're doing is impacting the lives of other people. So it's really the journey of entrepreneurship is really a journey of self-development and self-discovery. And it's really important. Like, I can't stress it enough. There is no right way of doing it. There's only your way of doing it. And you have to do it at your own pace. And like I literally just dropped rap bars in a conference. So I don't know what other example I can give you, but it's really about finding the way you can do it. You can touch the world. And this is important in terms of mindset. It's not about following, it's about creating something new in the world. Like you don't have to disrupt. I see there's a lot of emphasis as well on that. Like, yeah, you need to disrupt, you need to, kill what was already there and bring your own, replace it to make money. But you don't have to disrupt to change, right? It's just bringing change, bringing relief to a lot of people who don't have it yet. So this is what I have for you in terms of behavior, attitude, and mindset when it comes to entrepreneurship. So making sure that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's always a tool. Find that tool and understand which tools work on which road to take you to that point. See, in terms of knowledge, connaissance, it's always about keys, right? The last time we shared three keys. I'm not gonna remember which one they are. Sorry, Counselor Foster. Hopefully, we can send you the recording or the summary of that talk. But every session we drop keys, and these keys are like literally what you need in order to accomplish. People hesitate to do marketing, or people lose a lot of money doing marketing that doesn't work because they don't know the key to marketing. The 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 key to marketing is really customer segmentation. So really understanding and the same example I always have, like I always act like I have that one marketing dollar. Yeah, I just have that $1 left. So no, I cannot put it in Google ads if I'm not sure that my customer is going to see that ad. I'm not gonna put it on a Facebook ad if I'm not 100% sure that my customer is on Facebook, and it's not, right? So I always make sure that my customers are segmented, meaning I know exactly who I'm talking to when I'm talking to and for what service. If I have one particular product or one particular service, and I think Mark and Wood is going to benefit a lot from this. And I will have to switch to Creole a bit. I feel like he's a little bit more comfortable in Creole, but and then I will go back. So for example, Mark and Wood, ça arrive que wap fè noir vraiment, men ou pa jam gon ide de client idéal nou an ki es liye. Oui, tout le monde mange noir. Oui, noir bon nan bouche tout le monde because it's food and it's a commodity. Men mka garanti ou ke gen yon moun, ou bien gon segment spesifik de moun ki vraiment, vraiment, vraiment remen noir ou bien besoin noir pou yo fè yon bagay spesifik. Et peut-être que façon pour réfléchir que jan noir moun yop just pren noir nan bouteille and then they eat it, ou bien yo mette nan manger, etc. Peut-être c'est comme ça on pense que utilisation rien, but maybe that's not where your ideal customer is. Maybe that's not how your ideal customer would use it, right? So it's really about figuring out. which segment is going to be the most profitable? And that's I don't know, that's the basis of business success. I like to take examples on myself. Um, I had clients where I would say, okay, this is my price. And they would say, oh my God, you're so expensive. And then I have other clients where I would give my prices and they would be like, okay. And I would send my work and they would be like, no, 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 no. That level, that caliber of work that you're providing to us cannot be that cheap. Please send another invoice and you can just mark up the price. So I had these two experiences. And what that means is that the first person is not my ideal customer because you cannot be in business and your customer doesn't respect you. You cannot be in business and your customer doesn't value you. And these one thing leads to the other. The Haitian community is known as one of the worst when it comes to customer service. Like even before I was dealing with people from the diaspora, I knew about that. So it's a well-known fact that we are not good when it comes to customer service. But when you think about it, the reason why we're not good at customer service is because the customers don't value us. And because they don't value us, we have to compensate. So that attitude leads to the other attitude where we have to be hostile most of the time. And it gives us the habit of, being hostile. It becomes the norm. And that's going to happen to you in your business if you don't make sure that your customer respects you, your customer values you. You're not you're not an animal working like for that paycheck all like that's a job. That's not entrepreneurship. When you're in your business, you get to make the rules, you get to create the relationships. I say no to clients all the time. No, I will not be in your service. And I say yes to a lot of clients as well, just because I know you don't have the money. I want to do it for you because I like you, because I like your project. So I do a lot of pro bono work because I'm not just in it for the money. There's a lot of self-fulfillment and self-realization in it as well. And I understand, like, well, Doc, not everybody can, I understand that, but it's something that you need to aim towards. So I understand maybe your point A right now. Well, no, right now I can't afford to say no to any of my clients because bottom line, et cetera, et cetera. But write it down, jot that down. That's your weakness. That's a W in your SWOT analysis. And one of your point Z's is I want to be able to have a pipeline of clients and I want to be able to be fully booked for the month of March, even though we're only getting into February, like I'm fully booked for the month of March. And that allows me to say, I want to work with that guy. I don't want to work with that girl. I want to, et cetera, et cetera. And it gives you that liberty where you're working with the people that you want to work with on the projects that you want to work with. Very important. So what does that is customer segmentation. And if you go to a book, they will focus on when it comes to customer segmentation, they will focus on demographics. So who are your clients? Are they male or female? Are they what is your level of income? What is this monthly or yearly income? Where do they live? Et cetera, et cetera. And these things matter, definitely. But psychographics matter as well. Another example on myself. I have worked with clients where I would literally pour my expertise, pour my experience, pour my passion, like I'm talking about sleepless nights, etc., into a project. And it's not to brag, but it's stellar work. But because the client doesn't have the level of familiarity with my field, they cannot appreciate what I created. And that sucks the energy and the life out of me. And whenever that happens, I say, that's not your client. So that person could have paid me $50,000 for that one logo. It's not worth it for me because I can't even brag. I can't even put that in my portfolio. I can't even write a case study about it because the case study would start like, I hate that client. And I can't put that out on the internet. So it's really important for you to understand that you need to find your ideal client. So for you, your ideal client, who whatever your business is someone who values what you're doing. I'm going to give you, like, for example, Mark Wood, it might be more difficult because I have a product. It's probably going to be like, Doc, I have a product. So it's mass market. I just want to sell my cashews, right? But the other example I like to take when it comes to customer segmentation is satisfaction versus delight. So it's like you're talking to someone and the person is not thirsty, but you're selling refreshments, right? So you bring that person a refreshment and she's like the person start drinking and they like it because it tastes good and you get like, okay, that'll be $10 and they pay you your $10 versus meeting someone who's been in the desert for 2 days. They don't even remember what water tastes like. And then you bring that person one of your refreshments, you just save that person's life. That person doesn't care if you're selling that refreshment $20, $50, $100. They're whew, they're grateful for you. They want you to win. They want everybody to know that, oh my God, this guy saved my life. This is your ideal customer. Your ideal customer is a customer who chooses you 24/7, 365, 100% of the time. So even if you're selling a product that is a commodity, um, make create a way for the person to want your product and not your competitors or like no alternative. Like it's noir like I am or no noir. So and until you start figuring out who your customer segment, like what your customer segments are, it's hard for you to know to have enough background on that one individual to be able to target them. So understanding how they think, that's why I mentioned psychographics, which is different from demographics. So understanding what they value. The clients, for example, for me, who always want to pay me more, is people who most of the time have like they already worked in global brands. So like I have this one client who worked like 30 years at IBM. He understands what branding is. It worked before him already. He understands like a company has a lot of like money that they need to put away to maintain that coherence, that et cetera, et cetera. So he values what I'm providing to him. And he's going to be like, Edwin, I understand your situation. You're working too hard. You're too brilliant for me. Like he's not gonna be comfortable, we're like with a little bit of remuneration. So versus that person who doesn't, I don't understand that when you just take your pencil and you put it on a piece of paper and you draw a little pretty picture and then you give it colors on the computer. So why are you charging me that much for it? So the person doesn't understand that part, and that's why they don't value. So I need to segment my customers as who is going to value my work, who has the purchasing power to afford it, like the disposable income to afford it, et cetera, et cetera. And how do I target these people instead of trying to target the whole world at the same time? We have a question in the chat. I haven't been paying attention to the chat, unfortunately, but I see that it's more like some note sharing. Perfect. So would that also work for a nonprofit? We are not selling anything. We do not have a product. How would that work for us? Great question. So yes, it's instead of customer segmentation, it's going to be beneficiary or stakeholder segmentation. And yes, it's crucial because you really need to understand, who do I exist for? Who cares more about what it is that I'm providing? So let's talk about stakeholders, right? So if you want, you can give me more details about what services or like programs that your nonprofit has or is currently offering, and I can, use an example specifically for yours. But let's talk about something else. For example, health literacy. I had a nonprofit involved in health literacy. Okay, so she just said yes. So yeah, you can just tell me, you don't have to type. You can just unmute and tell me what services you offer, and then I can take the example for you. Or she
You're
prefers to
right.
type.
I was just trying to find my mute button. I'm I'm
Okay, so
I'm on two
yeah.
individual screens. So our nonprofit, the nonprofit that I started, we provide nutritional we provide food we seek to provide hot meals to children in Haiti.
Ooh.
Uh,
So,
and so,
uh, okay, so I mean, you have your organization is based in Haiti. Amazing.
well,
Exactly.
actually, well, we are incorporated here in the States. However, the
Your activity.
majority, the work that we are doing is in Haiti. And so we provide meals for those children. In this,
Okay.
it's in a very remote region, and so we provide, two hot meals for them a day. And then what we also aim to do is also, perhaps twice a month, we will send them home, like a food pantry for their families, because we know that, okay, once the weekend comes, hey, that child is those children, because it's more than one per family. And so they're going to go home, and the weekend is going to just go, okay, well, when we're at school, we fed, but when we're home, what's there? So we aim to send them home with, provision for the weekend, and that will last them, until they come back. So that's kind of well, the name of our organization is called Abundant World Foundation, so that's what we're about. So I'm liking everything that I'm hearing, because before I was in the nonprofit, I did have a for-profit business. It was a store. Unfortunately, COVID happened, so everything just kind of, but still at the same time. So I understand everything that you're saying, and I appreciate that. So now I'm trying to figure out, how do I now translate this to what we're currently doing.
Yes. And I will be happy to figure that out like right now with you. So having a nonprofit,
Mm-hmm.
you have two customer segments.
Okay.
And one of those customer segments is the end user. So the kids, they are like we call that the end user. So c'est la personne qui utilise, it's the utilisateur, it's the person who gets the
The
benefit that you're
benefits.
creating.
Yeah.
But of course, they're not your customer because they're not the people paying for the meals.
Got it.
So you need to create that separation in your documentation. So okay, these are the still stakeholders, but these are the end users. So who do I need to talk to
Mm.
who are going to be like, hey, counselor, here's money. Please feed these people. So who will be interested in doing that and in exchange for what? So
Mm.
the same way a businessman is looking to segment their customers, like who needs my services, who is going to pay for that at that price point, etc. The nonprofit person is thinking, who is going to fund my activities and what can I give them in exchange? So what the value proposition, we'll see that in the next slides, for a business is, this is what I offer as a service, is
Mm.
exists as well for a nonprofit, except you're trying to like cater to the end user on one side,
Mhm.
but more importantly, cater to the people who are giving you the funding.
The donors, yeah.
Exactly. So you can further segment your donors into, just people, particulars, I saw an ad. Oh my God, what you're doing is so heartwarming. I dropped you 1,000. But organizations do that as well. So you can segment your donors into, okay, individual people, what do they care about? Most of these people actually they want to be anonymous donors. So they basically just need like news. So I'm gonna offer them a newsletter that they can subscribe to. I'm going to give them the opportunity to interact with the people, with the kids via Zoom call. They can be short. Like you can design your value proposition for them, but it's
Mm.
going to be a very different value proposition for an organization, I can guarantee you. So
Okay.
these people, they want reports, annual reports, maybe monthly reports sometimes. They need mentions, like in the press or whenever you do a press release, everything that you communicate on Facebook, on social, everywhere, they need to see that donated by, powered by, supported by, XY
Mhm.
organization. So they're looking for like, especially foundations. So they're looking for that exposure because the same way when they give you that money, you're gonna have to give them reports. They as well, they have other people giving them money and they
Right.
need to say this is what we did with the money. So for each segment that you have, and that's the whole point of having customer segmentation, you have a different value proposition. So it's basically like for each segment, it's like you have a different business because not customer segment A is not going to be interested in customer segment B's value proposition. So it's really about setting that up. So now for the end users, I assume you already figured it out. You have the meals. Now the reason why to give them that extra to go home is because you know them. You know the way they live, you understand that, oh, they are at school only 5 days a week. And so it's knowledge that allows you to make that decision.
Right.
Let's say you had one marketing dollar to buy that extra meal for the weekend. You chose to make that decision because you're certain that it's important for them to get that food when they're they're on the weekend. So it's the
Mm.
same thing. When you get to, okay, so I need to ask Microsoft or IBM or I don't know, the Bill Gates Foundation or the Kellogg's Foundation to support my endeavor. Now you start thinking, what are they looking for?
Mm.
Why would they give me money? So you start thinking, you're gonna start throwing hypotheses. Well, I would assume they want to see that I have experience, that I've been doing this for quite a while. So, in other words, they need receipts. So, and that's why, like, the nonprofit game is really a game of taking pictures and making videos,
Right.
already documenting everything from day one. Like, so because when you're like making a case for the Kellogg's Foundation, you need to be able to look, I've been doing this for X and Y. This is my numbers. This is the number of meals that were provided, etc. Like they need to see that you're thorough and
Mm.
that like so you have a clear value proposition for them. So this is it. If you give me your money, you will have reports quarterly, like monthly, weekly. You will have this, have that. You will be mentioned like in all our channels, which is our website, our this, our that. So it's really, they are your customer. The same way when you're making a business, you really get like I always say that the entrepreneur's first job is to get inside the head of its customer.
Mm.
So it's the same thing for a nonprofit. You really need to know what are the organizations looking for? What are
Mm.
they trying to accomplish? And sometimes you have to look at other nonprofits. How are they behaving? How are they getting that NBA money? Like the NBA is
Right.
sponsoring.
Right.
So what are they doing right that I'm not doing, et cetera, et cetera? And then you do that,
Cool
right?
beans. Yeah.
So
Some.
we could talk about customer segmentations all day because, like I said, this is the basis. For example, you may have, or like any other businesses, you may have a product that is sold $3,000, and you're not going to talk to that customer segment the same way you talk to someone who's buying your $5 product.
Mm.
It's a whole different customer journey. They won't find you the same way, right? If I met someone on Facebook and they told me, yeah, my service is $3,000, I would not even bother to consider that because I met you on Facebook, right? But I can, I can spend $10 on something that I saw on Facebook. But so and vice versa, right? I'm not going like if I'm selling something for $3,000, I'm not going to make an ad on Facebook about that, right? So and you can see that as well, even on websites. When you go on a website and it's like, I don't know, $50, you can see $50. But the more the service costs, you will see the button will say get a quote.
Mm.
So when you click get a quote, you give your information and then they write you or they call you and they tell you how can I help you, et cetera, because they're not gonna tell everybody that yeah we have a $3,000 $5,000 service. So the way you talk, where you are, if you're on TikTok versus if you're on LinkedIn, it sends a different message. So like, and that's why customer segmentation is the basis, because if you know your customers are very, very, very young, then it makes sense for you to be on TikTok. But if your customers are 45 to 65-year-old and they're not interested in anything that's on TikTok, they are a little bit more conservative and etc., then it doesn't make sense for you to have a TikTok account.
Mm.
So it's really not about trying to be everywhere. It's about being at the right spot at the right time. And customer segmentation gives you that information. And like what's in parentheses when it's like customer avatar is one person that we pick from the segment. So one of the characteristics of a segment, in geometry is that, well, it's uniform. Like there's homogeneity. So everybody is kind of like the same people. So you can say, oh, I have a customer segment and there's a 12-year-old in it and there's a 50-year-old in it. Like it's not a segment at this stage. A segment is this the people tend to be kind of like the same person. And that's why you can pick an avatar. You can say, well, Edwin is going to be my customer avatar. Edwin represents all my clients, all my ideal clients. So whenever I want to talk to my clients, I visualize that I'm talking to Edwin. I know Edwin as a um, habit of waking up in the morning and working out. So because I know that's part of my customer avatar, so meaning all my segments, the people that I'm talking to, they have that same habit. So I can make a Facebook post and start with, how was your morning workout? And Edwin is going to see that and be like, how did you know? Well, I know because I have information on my customer segment. And that's how ads are written. Like real ads are the ads that they have insights, they know exactly who they're talking to in terms of customer segmentation. So if your business is for everybody, then it's not for anybody. If you're targeting everybody, then you're not targeting anybody. So it's really important for you to understand who your customer segment is. And marketing success is based on that. If you really want to market, you need to know who you're marketing to. And think about it. Market rhymes with target. You can't do marketing without targeting. You can't just, it's not a AK-47 where you're spraying all over the place and hoping to eat something. But you have to really be oh, that's a great question, Natalie. Is there a tool for customer segmentation? Yes, there is. There's a tool for everything. And that's the beauty of it. Well, I will share that resource with you. It's not that popular, but it's a group called Strategizer. So of course, I'm all about strategy. I play chess and stuff. So there I've been following them for a while now, and they created tools for the whole business model canvas. So they have a different tool for each quadrant of the business model canvas. So I will share that link with you probably in the transcript. when we get the email, recapping everything, with all the tools that they have. But they definitely have that. And there are, I think I also have tutorials on the different ways of doing customer segmentation. So I would share that with you, with you as well. So yeah, so that's the key to marketing. No, you're not AK-47 spraying. You are an archer. So you have a quiver, you have a bow, and you always pretend like you only have one arrow left. So because you have that one arrow left, you really have to know where you're aiming it and to make sure that you make that sale. So that's how I treat my marketing. That's how you should treat your marketing. I know exactly who I'm talking to. I know what he likes. I know what his favorite color. I know his favorite, I don't know, sport. And I'm going to make all those connections so that he understands that I'm definitely talking to him. And he's gonna make that sale. So that's the keys for marketing. The key to sales, like a lot of people, yeah, but I don't know how to sell, etc. Well, the key to sales is a sales funnel. And the sales funnel itself is based on the customer journey. The customer journey is where the person hears, about your business the first time. What is the impression that they have on the first time? How do they consider you as an option? How do they convince themselves that you're a safe bet? How do they look for you online to see if someone else purchased your service before and see what they have to say about it? So that's validating. And then they buy, right? And I like to use the analogy. And the mistake that people do in sales is that they think they can meet someone and then start selling. Hi, my name is Dr. Edwin Magloire. I design logos. Do you want to buy my product? That never works. It's like dating. You don't meet someone and be like, would you please marry me? It doesn't work like that. People have to get to know you. People have to meet your family, meet your friends, hear what they have to say about you. Learn about your past relationships. So that's customer testimonials, by the way. What does your ex has to say about you? So it takes time, but a sales funnel is a lot of people will hear of your business. That's why it starts with awareness, brand awareness. So a lot of people hear about you, but not all of them are your ideal customer. Not all of them fall inside your customer segmentation. So there will be the funnel will become slimmer as we go down. So, but among the people who hear from you and who are interested in buying your service or product, not all of them are going to buy right away. They have your competitors talking to them as well. Maybe they're not even ready to buy right now. An example, the other day I sold a brand identity project, and I always ask. So I'm like, how did you hear from me? When exactly did you make decision to buy? And the person was like, well, in 2020, I watched a conference. And I'm like, 2020, but we're in 2023. She's like, yeah, like I wasn't ready, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of like sometimes the sales cycle lasts. And every time the person sees you and the person is having a positive experience or positive, I would say, relationship, circumstance, situation with you, it feeds into the person's conviction that you're the right service provider or product for them. So you don't just meet someone and be like, hey, here, buy. No, that's why you have to create a brand and around your product. That's your interface. There's an interface. It's not you're not just one person. The product, the company itself needs to become an entity on its own, and the people need to start having experiences with that entity outside of you. So they need to understand, like for example, Counselor Foster, you're not gonna the first time you talk to the Kellogg Foundation, they're not gonna sign you a check. Maybe the first time you're talking to them, you're not even gonna ask them for money. Maybe it's just an invitation, or maybe it's just, hey, we just did this event, and we took some nice pictures of the kids, and we thought you would be interested since you've been involved in education in Haiti for so long.
Oh, wow.
No commitment,
Right. Right.
absolutely no commitment, but they see and they're like, huh, oh, that looks interesting. Maybe I'll follow you
Mm.
on your Instagram or LinkedIn or anything. And the more they see you share stuff and they see the level of professionalism that's involved in it, uh, the how thorough you are, because scandals in nonprofits or this type of things happens all the time. So the
Oh,
more transparent you are, the more they're like, okay, she's credible at least, you know, and so it it grows on them. It's not a one time, hey, please marry me. Like it's
right. Right.
you go out on a date, you send a gift, etc., and they see you around, and then one day they decide, hey, you know what? I'll reach out to her. Dear Counselor Foster, we have an activity with the kids. We would wonder, do you want a partner? So that's the ideal situation where they ask you out. But even if they don't,
Mm.
the more you react, you interact with them, you like their Facebook posts, you follow them on LinkedIn, you comment on their, it shows that you have the same interest, you using the same language, maybe even the same hashtags.
Right.
And
Right.
so they start seeing that, oh, we're kind of like in the same ecosystem right here. So on the day you decide that you're strong enough, and that's why SWOT analysis are very important. The day you're gonna go on your SWOT and you see that the weakness that was preventing you from contacting that organization is no longer there, then you
Mm.
can be like, it's game time. So you can write them a nice email, and then you never know. They might answer you and say, "Oh, currently we don't have any programs running, but we'll keep you in mind." And you may feel like this is a failure, but no, this is just you getting one step closer to them. So
Okay.
that's just like that one thing that people don't understand. People think sales happen, I have my product, I walk to someone, I ask them to buy it. No.
Mm.
It takes time, and you have to walk the person through the sales funnel. And every business should have their own sales funnel. So you need to have a strategy for each step.
Mm.
What is what is that very easy, uh, very simple thing, product, service that I can give away for free just to let people know that I exist. Right. So that is the top of your sales funnel. That's how people find out you exist. Um, I like to take examples of myself. A lot of people met me and never even knew that I had a branding agency. Like, I always hear you talk about entrepreneurship. I never knew you had an agency. Exactly. That's the top of my sales funnel. You find out about me because I give information away for free.
Mm.
And then the more I talk to you, oh, you do this? Oh, do that. But imagine if it was the other way around. If I came to you and be like, Counselor Forster, you need a website. No nonprofit. Actually, I wouldn't even have that information that you have
Right.
a nonprofit, right? But let's say I knew it and I would write you on Facebook or Twitter or anywhere and would like, yeah, Counselor Forster, you cannot have an organization and you don't have a website.
Right.
I sell my website $5,000 a pop. When do you think you can, have a conversation with me about that? You would look at me like, excuse me,
I would laugh right out. Right? I would laugh out.
right? Right? So that applies to
Yeah.
everything.
True, true, true.
And Mark and Wood is probably think, no, I have a product. There's no point of doing a sales funnel is, I just drop my product at a store and people see it and they buy it. But no, you have to create a relationship. And I know he dropped out, but hopefully you will catch that in the recording. You have to have a relationship. And that's one of the advices that I give to entrepreneurs in Haiti. And they don't get it because, it's been done this way since forever. You don't just create a product and you drop it at a supermarket. You have zero control over who's looking at your product, who's buying your product, how do they use your product, what like How long does it last them? What they like in it, what they don't like in it. Like, you're blind. And the relationship exists between the supermarket owner, the store owner, and I can't even say your customer because it's not your customer. So you need to create a situation where the people buying from you, it's not just buying in a specific channel and has zero relationship with you. They need to have relationship with you. So it's really important to create that brand, which is an interface. Like, what is Noir Like I Am? What is the brand story? Why did they start? What is their philosophy? What are their values? How do they give back to their community? Out of the 20,000 brands of cashews, what makes Noir Like I Am special? Why should I buy Noir Like I Am and not Noir Payam or something like that? So this is the where the branding comes in, and it's the branding that sets you apart, and it's the branding that gives you pricing power. The other brands, they have to stick to the market price, right? Like, well, how much is Noir being sold? 100 goods. So you're forced to sell yours 100 goods or around 100 goods. But if Noir Like I Am is special, like, we work with kids and we like, regardless of how, like, you can put what makes you special in between those parentheses. And that allows us to say, you know what, we cannot sell for 100 goods because we need more money to help the kids and we need more money to reach the international market. So we're gonna sell at 150 goods. And while someone who sees that may say, no, I can't buy it that, but it's because you don't have a brand. It's because you're just a commodity. But
Mm.
if you have a brand, meaning you're consistent in your messaging, the tone, the words you use, the color of your packaging, the causes you support, etc., then it becomes something worthy of support. And that's where the loyalty comes in. Nobody's going to be loyal to cashews, but someone can be loyal to a cashew company. So that's what's
Mhm.
important.
Makes
So you
sense.
can, like, even you, counselor, you can say, yeah, I give people meals. I give meals to children. Yeah,
Right.
I'm pretty sure you're not the only person doing that. So
Exactly.
what makes you the person to 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 support in that situation? Right. So and this is where branding comes from, and this is where brand strategy comes from,
Mm.
where you need to figure out what sets you apart, which is your positioning statement. Like,
Okay.
and your positioning statement is a tool um that you can, like, literally, that's one of the things I say, like, all the time in all my presentation. I say, yeah, we're a branding agency, and what sets us apart is our focus on strategy. And I say it, I repeat it in all my presentations. You will see a chessboard. You just saw a chess piece. So, like, everything that I communicate has chess around it, and it communicates that, yeah, we don't just create pretty pictures, but we have the strategy to figure out which pretty picture to create. So that's my position and statement. And it's I say it visually, I say it with words, and I say it all the time. So once you figure out what your position and statement is, you may, like, it may go like, we're the only nonprofit organization who provide meals to children and or buy, and then you fill in the blanks, and there's something that really sets you apart. And then you said, so then how do I create these relationships without some form of a platform? You can't. You need a platform. And that's the whole point. And that's the whole point.
Okay.
Right? So in business, there are these things called table stakes. Like when you go to a casino and you want to gamble, there's a minimum of money you need to put it on the table in order to be able to even claim that you're playing,
Yeah.
right? So
You're
that's
gonna
the table
be
stakes.
there.
So
Yeah.
you cannot be a nonprofit without a website, right? Because every other organization will be looking for your website. They will not pay attention to your IG. They will not pay attention to your Facebook. They will pay attention to your LinkedIn account and your website.
Hmm. I didn't know that.
point blank period. And even B2B versus B2C, business to business or business to client. For example, Nwala Kayam could be selling his cashews to individuals, so he just drops it as a supermarket. But let's say he was selling cashew to restaurants, right? Like Haitian restaurants in the US. So that's a B2B. A restaurant is buying your cashew. They're not gonna buy little bags. They're gonna buy like tons of it because they want to make I don't know, juillet au noir, poulet au noir, like for in their restaurant. So it's a whole different form of communication. They're not
Mm.
gonna reach out to you on Instagram and Facebook. They will go through your website, see like your capacities, who's part of the team. Like they're not gonna just trust one person behind a WhatsApp like account. They need to see who's in the team, who's responsible for finances, who's responsible for logistics. So credibility matters.
Yeah.
And in the sales funnel, the person who was at the top that you attracted with your free offer and is considering you will also look at your competitors like alternatives slash, and let's say they want to go with you, their next step is the validation step, meaning they will start validating like, can they really do what they say they can do?
Yeah.
So they will be looking for testimonials, like past organizations who have provided you with money, past organizations like, or even stakeholders. What did one stakeholder say after your seminary, your webinar, your workshop? So they want proof, receipts. So
Mhm.
and then after that validation phase, then they're ready to purchase. And guess what? And a lot of entrepreneurs make that mistake. I'm going to sell, take the money, and run.
Mm.
No, sell, take the money, and take the testimonial. Make sure that every customer you talk to gives you some form of, it doesn't have to be a verbal one. It could be just a picture with the product. It could be like, there's so many things, right? That it could be, but make sure that every person who buys from you can communicate to someone that, hey, I bought from this person and I had a very satisfactory experience.
Mm.
Because the new customer, when they're considering you, they will be looking for those validating facts.
Right.
So, story of my life, right?
Mhm.
Hey, Dr. Magloire, yeah, how are you? Yes, I would like a, okay, how did you hear from? Like, well, this or that person showed me what you created and I want something just like that, etc. So it's always a referral. It's always someone who vouch for you. Nobody like people buy from people. So you could create the biggest, the nicest logo, nicest website, but at the end of the day, people buy from people. So they will go on the website, go to the About Us section, look at the name of the person, go to LinkedIn, type the name of that person, see what that person is up to.
Wow.
And you can have a very professional LinkedIn account. They're still gonna look for your Facebook and Instagram. And let's say you were just doing TikTok dances, your credibility just dropped a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying don't do TikTok dances, but I'm just saying don't do TikTok dances. Yeah. So that's the key to sales. Once you have an offer for the top of your funnel, an offer for the middle of your funnel, and an offer for the sales, like like the bottom of the funnel, then you will never complain about not selling anything.
Mm.
Yep. And then there's the key to business validation, which is linked to the sales funnel. It's traction, showing that you had 2 customers yesterday, but now you have 5, showing that the 5 turned into 10. So same thing for you, counselor, especially for a nonprofit. Traction matters like a lot. So
Right.
they will ask you, okay, so how are you increasing the number of meals that you're giving every year?
Mm.
Or are you feeding the same people like all the time? So they want to see traction. They want
Of
to see
course.
progress. They want to see numbers. And that's key performance indicators, also known as KPIs.
Mm.
So I don't know. I have another 4 bar that starts by what isn't measured isn't improved. If you don't know what you're doing,
How do you make
how are
it?
you improving it?
Right.
Right? You know, you imagine you never had a report card at school. You would never have, better grades. So you need to measure everything that you're doing. And an investor will ask you for KPIs more than anything else.
Mm.
They will care about a lot of things, return on investment, how much profit will they make, blah, blah. But they really want to see that you're moving forward, that you're going. So traction. You can say, hey, I have 300 new users on my application. That's good, but they will want to know how many people are leaving. So that's how many people joining, but how many people are leaving. And those two numbers give you the churn rate. So how many people are joining versus how many people are leaving, and that gives you a ratio. So these are KPIs that
Mm.
investors and people who are in business, they know by heart, right? I need to know, like, let's say you're in sales, you need to know how many calls you place every day. That's supposed to be like a reflex for you. Like, okay, so that's a key performance indicator. How many calls did I make yesterday? Right? So that's for sales. So there are KPIs for every segment of a business. Production, even if you're managing a website, like for example, for you, a KPI, how many meals, how much does it cost to do those meals? How can we reduce the cost? How are you going to reduce the cost if you don't know how much it costs?
Mm.
Right? So you really need to be thorough, and business is a numbers game. And I'm saying that, but I'm not good at numbers for some reason. But I have to. It is what it is. Like you can't be in business and not and refuse to do numbers. You need to do the valuation of your company. My company is worth X millions of dollars. How do you know that? You need to be able to calculate that. You need to, an investor comes along and they say, and you say they say they want to invest, they want to buy shares. You need to understand, based on the valuation of your business, what's the percentage of shares you can give out, you can give away, and for how much money.
Mm.
So these are supposed to be, very like fast calculations. If you say you're giving like for $1 million, you're giving away 10% of your company, then like you need to understand that, well, if 10% is equal 1 million, then 100% is equal, and whole that's the whole valuation of your company. So these things, like, I don't like them, but it's mandatory. So these
Mm.
were the keys. I can't believe we spent that much time on the keys. So these were the keys, but these are very important keys. If you understand that customer segmentation helps you run marketing smoothly, that sales funnel help you run sales smoothly, and KPIs, being able to say, hey, I was this yesterday, but today I am this, and tomorrow I will be that, because that also allows projections. Like, it's so easy for you to convince someone that your business is profitable. And you can use traction for everything: to hire people, to get volunteers, interns, partners, business partners, like investors. So you don't you need numbers, and you need to validate that. Same as, even if it's a business idea, you haven't launched yet really, but you need traction. And I remember I told Joanne, okay, fine, you want to launch catering that catering thing, you need traction as well. Like, how many people, like literally how many people um were told me that they were willing to pay X amount of money every month for my service, right? And I know they haven't purchased yet, but it still matters, because you traction is about convincing a potential buyer, investor, etc., that this thing has money in it, that we're reaching our goals. So for a nonprofit, it's really important as well, counselor.
Okay.
Welcome, Lydia.
Hello,
And
how
then
are
we back.
you?
I'm very great, Lydia.
Good.
And then we have to. move forward, but we're getting back a little bit with the connection part that we spoke about. This is the same slide we used last month, but this time we're putting more focus on the strategic network because a business model, there's actually a quadrant. You know what? I should share that with you first. Like, this is the business model canvas. In case you're not familiar with it, it's a schematic way of representing a business. No, it doesn't have all the elements and components of a business, but it has everything that you need in order to claim that you have a business. So it's 9 quadrants, and not a lot of people know that, but it's like that line in the middle, it's separated as on the right side, this is everything that people can see. This is your marketing mix. This is your product, value proposition, your price, so your revenue stream, where do you promote? So customer relationships and channels, and the people that you're targeting, so your customer segments. So everybody will have that information that's on the right. And on the left, this is your key activities, your key resources, your key partners, and your cost structure. That's supposed to stay a secret. This is the part that makes your business so unique that people can replicate it. So the key activities, people may see that you're doing an activity, but they don't understand where it fits in your business model. So everything that is on the left side is used to create the value proposition, is used to maintain the channels, et cetera, et cetera. So let's go through each quadrant one by one, and then I will get back to the connection part. So number one, will we receive the slides? Yes, I think that's the question that was asked last month as well. And for some reason we couldn't. But this time around, I think we will. We will have to. Because I never realized that, like it was that much information, but it's a lot of information. So I will definitely send this. So the customer segments, believe it or not, is quadrant number one. So there are 9 quadrants, but quadrant number one is customer segments. It all starts and ends on the customer segments because you created a business to serve someone. Yes, you are your own boss, but your customer is your boss in reality. So everything that you're going to do here depends on the customer segment. So who are the customers that you're serving or trying to serve? Not all customers must also be payers. So this is just like Counselor Foster. Um, her customers are the end users, the children. They are not the one paying for the meals. To understand that you need to write for the children and as well the people who are funding the activity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the customer segment defines everything. So because I know who I'm serving, I know what I need to create for them. So value proposition is number two. So value propositions are comprised of products and services and their related promises. So each customer segment should have a matching value proposition, obviously. So what is important to remember when it comes to the value proposition? The old way of doing things was I'm going to create a product and then I'm going to do my best to try to sell it. That's how it was before, right? I don't know, create some tea and then I will find a customer for the tea. Now it's different. Business is done a very different way. Now we find the customers first.
Okay.
And that's the lean way of building a business. You find the customer first. You inquire. You ask a lot of questions. Like I said, it's just like dating. You ask a lot of questions, like a lot. And then you figure out what are these people trying to accomplish? What is their pain points? Like, what are they trying to have as a bonus when accomplishing what they're accomplishing, right? And then when you have that insight, you can say, I'm going to create a value proposition for them. I'm going to create a product and service that is tailor-made to serve these people. And what that does is, because you're tailor making or tailoring your product or service on their needs, you don't have to convince them to buy. So your sales and marketing become a lot less expensive because I created something that already know people are going to value. So you create the community first. You find the people first, and you create something that you know they need. You create something that you know that's going to relieve their pain points, and that's gonna help them get benefits on top, right? Like I like taking the example of COVID. Nowadays there is no business model without delivery included, because now people are used to receiving things inside their house. So it becomes a no-brainer that you're going to have a delivery attached to what it is. So that you're doing. So having information on the customer is what helps you create your product, not the other way around. You don't create a product and then you look for people to buy it. That's going to cost you. You have to convince, you have to create a sales team, a sales force, and you have to pay a lot for marketing, etc. Whereas if you create something that's tailor-made for your customer, you can, in just one line, you can sell, because you can state their problem and they're like, how do you know? Too tired after work to work with your own on your own kid on their own work? Like, yeah. And you feel like you don't have the level of trust to have someone else come to your house and teach them. Yeah. Like, so all those problems are things that you figured out when you were doing customer discovery, when you were doing when you were creating your list of customer segments. So you create something that's tailored to them, and you define the channels. So how am I going to deliver what I created to my customers? Because if you create something and then they buy and you don't deliver it, then you're a
Mhm.
scam. You're not a
Yeah.
business. So you need to define the channels. Now, if I don't know who my customer is, I'm picking the channels very randomly. I'm going to start a TikTok account. But like I said, they're not on TikTok. So you really need to know them, know their habits. Where do they hang out? Are they even like using the technology that much? Or maybe I need to find them at church if they're Haitian, right? So there's so many things that you need to understand first about your customer before you make any other decision. So the value proposition rests on them. The channels you're going to use rest on them, because it's where are they? Where are they physically? Where are they digitally? Where do they hang out? So that tells you where to how to deliver your value. The customer relationships. This is the part where you can really, really innovate. Customer relationships. Actually, I haven't read the channels. So the channels describe how customers find the value propositions and eventually exchange value with the organization, whether physically or digitally. So it's like I told you, people will want your website or your LinkedIn. So that's where they are for the nonprofit. So LinkedIn is definitely a good channel for you. But email marketing, newsletters, email blasts. So this is how you want to talk. You don't want to talk via WhatsApp to an organization. So the customer relationships describe ways in which the organization fosters a lasting relationship that goes beyond the point of sales. Remember I talked about testimonials? And remember, like, I don't know if you guys have that experience, but a lot of companies When it comes to December of January, they have to send you their calendars that they printed, agendas, like with pens, and these are all branded promotional items, but it's a way to keep you closer. Because if you're using a calendar, then every time you go look for a date, you're exposed to their brand. And the biggest marketing promotional item to this day is a pen, because people will use a pen a million times before they get rid of it. So if your logo is in a pen, that increases the number of impressions like a lot. So that's why brands, like even the biggest brands, they invest in printing their logos on a pen. So a lot of these things are just tactics, but you need to define what type of customer relationships am I going to have after the sale specifically. How will I do post-purchase? How will I design the post-purchase experience? Will I keep writing them? Will I provide them with support? Let's say I sent them a logo, and will I keep talking to them and telling them this is how you use the logo? Don't use it as that, etc. Um, so how am I gonna make sure that I keep after the purchase, that I keep a relationship with that person? Because remember the last month we were talking about the keys to growth. So it's really not about getting new customers all the time, but it's about getting your same customer base to keep buying from you. So what type of relationships are we gonna have? Close is better, but don't become a spammer. Have a close relationship, but a close, useful relationship. So how can I help these people beyond just selling them my product and service that one time? So that's for the customer relationship. And then all of that, the value proposition has a price, so they pay me. So revenue streams. Revenue streams describe the way the organization will make money for each product/service listed as value proposition. Free can also be a revenue stream. Like I said, if you have a sales funnel, you want to give away things for free so that people discover you. And then you will want to give people things for freemium, where you give it, it's free, but in exchange for their email address or phone number, depending on how your marketing is set up. But you need email addresses. Every business needs a customer database, because that's the whole point of a sales funnel. You capture email addresses, and then you can use those email addresses to sell people on the offers, on the value proposition. I'm not saying steal email addresses and then start spamming people with a product that they don't need or want. I'm saying if it's part of your sales funnel, you already know these people are interested in what you have to offer. So they just need to learn more about you. So giving something of a free ebook that's related to what they need helps. Let me give you an example, counselor. You're dealing with children and their parents, like almost, not almost, like every day. If you start gathering data, that's data that's very valuable for one of your funders, for one of your funders, because you can tell them there's X amount of children, they eat X amount of protein, X amount of this and that. Like, so you start thinking, wait, so I'm not only just selling, quote unquote selling, I'm not only just selling meals, I can also sell data,
Mhm.
right? And that's one of the most valuable things in the world right now,
True.
data. So imagine if you had a database of all these children, understanding how many people are in their household, understanding which of the parents are employed, unemployed, etc. That's data that you could even sell to the government, especially if it's in a remote area that, the government is not necessarily going to invest into getting there. So that's just an example that I'm giving you. Of course, I'm not telling you to become that. because as you can see, the title of the slide is actually business model shift.
Right.
Because a lot of people, they create a business model and they stick to it forever. And
Mhm.
then that's the recipe for, the demise of your business. You
Mhm.
need to be able to pivot. And especially when when COVID happened, a lot of business closes, but a lot of businesses like made a lot of money as well because they knew how to pivot. They knew the changes. Sometimes it wasn't even changes, it was just tweaks that they made in their business model, and they became very profitable. One of my favorite, oh my God, one of my favorite business model shift is a campaign from Heineken. Since all the bars closed, they shifted their advertising money. Instead of paying billboards, they turned the doors, genius. They turned the doors of the bars into billboards. So they would write, "This bar will be back. Please continue support them." And with the Heineken logo. So instead of paying advertisers that money, the bars made money from, using the advertising space. And Heineken was still visible in the eyes of everybody. So nobody lost anything, but the bars stayed alive during COVID. So it's just a tweak. Like it's still marketing, it's still branding, like nothing changed really. It's just a little change that they made in their channels. And that level of creativity needs to, it's something that needs to start to be cultivated. I mean, yes, it's nice to have someone like me and like, oh, Edwin, I need a campaign. What do you think I should do? That's fine. But an entrepreneur needs to stretch, their neurons as well. Like, how do I come up with a minimalistic marketing campaign, and would it work, right?
Mhm.
And one of the best ways I've learned to do these things is by looking at what other brands do. Like I follow Heineken like it's shadows. I don't even drink beer, but but these are some of the most creative brands in the world. Like Apple, Heineken, like like I don't know, like they turn marketing and advertising into science. So
Mhm.
seeing their campaigns like keeps my brain fresh, and uh, so it's something that I do a lot. So it's something that I believe every entrepreneur should do as well. Have a couple of brands that they follow that inspires them into like thinking like, okay. And like I said, it could be one from your same industry as you, right? Consider them like a bigger brother that you see like, oh yeah, I like what they're doing. I want to be like them when I grow up. But it could also be a company that has nothing to do with what you're doing, but you still feel inspired by them. So to continue, so the revenue streams, you need multiple revenue streams in order to sit comfortably in your business. Um, so it's really important to think about that quadrant and not just be like, I'm going to sell X product or I'm going to sell X service and that's my revenue stream. No, you need to figure out ways that you can have other revenue streams that don't cost a lot of things for your company. So once you're done with that side, how do you design the value proposition? How do you create the product? Well, you need resources, whether it's equipment. A website is going to be a key resource for you, for example, but human resources as well, people, right? So the key resources that belong to your company, like your employees, etc., they are part of the key resource quadrant. Whereas the resources that don't belong inside your company, that maybe that you subcontract or you buy from, are your key partners. So the key partners are the other companies that enable the organization to sustain its business model without having to develop every facet or element therein. So you don't have you don't have to have a printer inside your company to print files, right? So you can just go, next door and print them, right? So the key resources, keep them as minimalistic as possible. so that you don't, because the same way the revenue stream depends on everything here, the cost structure is going to depend on your key resources, your key activities, and your key partners. So the more resources you have inside the company, the more your cost structure will be. So key partners, they help alleviate everything that you're doing. So have the right ones as well. The right suppliers, um, the right I would say strategic partners as well. If you can get like that magazine that I was telling you about to promote your business, they could be a very good key partner. You give them there's something called services exchange. So you don't have to spend money. You just give them whatever it is that you're selling for free, and they give you the exposure that, so etc. So no money is being spent, but you can still. So key partners is very important, and that's why we had this. I came back with the slide because your strategic network really matters, right? So the key resources describe the resources the organization brings to bear to continually create value sustainably and competitively. This might include your employees. It does include your employees. And then the key activities are the things that the company does to create the value every day. So when you wake up in the morning and you have that list of tasks, this is the key activities. And it's very important that it's routine. And a lot of people don't like routine, but in business, you need routine to create consistency and results. You don't want to be improvising all the time. You want to create uh we want to create like a routine processes actually. You want to document processes, and when companies are being sold, they don't just buy the computers and the office appliances, they also buy the processes. So the more your business has documented processes, the more value your company has, right? And that applies to branding as well. So the color of my company, the blue that I keep using, the font, the design, the mascot, the every so this is all part, these are all assets of your company. And branding gives you that. Creating graphic assets that only you have. So all of that costs money. So this is a cost structure. And you have a profitable business when the amount of money spent here is lower than the amount of money you get here. It's that simple. So this minus this tells me if your company is profitable or how profitable your company is. So this is a business model canvas. Business model generation, because before you can document the business model, you need to understand that, okay, how am I going to generate a business model? How do I create it? So there are different steps. First, you prepare. How do you prepare? I do pencil and pen, pen and pencil and paper, but it could be a laptop, like, or maybe you buy a notebook. It needs to, you need to understand that you're creating a specific space for that business. If you're just jotting down every idea on post-its and it's all scattered, it's mixed with your notes from something else, etc., it doesn't work. So you need to have specific space where you're taking notes for your business. So that's how you prepare it. And then it comes to research. You need to understand your customer first and foremost, understand the market, like how many of those customers exist, what's the opportunity, what's the market opportunity, understanding what worked before you and what didn't work before you. That's another mistake I see a lot of entrepreneurs do. Yeah, I want to create something. Yeah, sure. Yeah, and then I'm doing it tomorrow. But most of the time, they don't do any research on X company that came and tried to do the same thing and failed miserably. Why did they fail? Are you going to fix that, or are you gonna like fall into the same trap? So you really need to research like other companies, or other people who came up with that same solution, but why it's not working, etc. Same for your competitor. You need a competitive landscape. You need to understand, okay, so they have 60 years in business, and this is going to be my first year. How am I possibly expecting to beat them? And I'm not saying you can't beat them, but you're definitely not going to beat them by chance. So you really need to research your competitors to figure out, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and it's going to work. And then comes the design phase. This is where you're creating like hypothesis. I believe my customer segments can be X and Y. I believe my customer segment X and Y are going to be interested in X and Y product, and service. I believe X and Y channel is how these people could be targeted, right? And I believe in terms of customer relationship, these people would, you know, would prefer it if, I had a brick and mortar business and they would be able to come to the waiting room, etc. And I believe these people would be willing to pay X amount of money for that product or service. So that's for the revenue stream. So this is all hypothesis when you're creating a business model. And you're not going to launch your business based on your hypothesis. You need to test that. But at first, it's just hypothesis. So that, for example, by the way, I just gave you the whole right side of the business model canvas. So now we can jump on the left side. So I believe what I would need to create that product or service the way I want to create it is X and Y human resource. I need to hire an engineer. I need to hire a this or that, a this or that. And in terms of equipment, I believe I need this and that and this and that. So how would I use those resources is my key activities. So I believe every day we should go to work and do this and that and do this and that. So that's every day. But maybe quarterly we need to create a report, etc., etc. And in terms of marketing, I believe every month we should X and Y. So this is our hypothesis. You don't know yet if this is what's gonna work. But that's one part of entrepreneurship that needs to happen where you're designing your business. This is the closest you're ever going to be to God because you're creating something that wasn't. And then, key activity, key resource, key partners. I believe X company or X supplier or X friend or X business could help me create my value proposition and be profitable at the same time. I believe it's going to be a win-win situation for us. So I create my list of potential partners. And I believe all of this is going to cost me that. Um, and because, I already know in terms of revenue streams how much money I'm going to make, I assume my business is going to be profitable. So that's the design phase. But we need to test all of that. So the first way you can test is your customer segment. So you need to figure out, okay, I said I was going to serve um, children like who are in medical school. So that's my customer segment. I know where to find them. Oh, by the way, one of a way that you can test if you have a right customer segment when you're doing your business model canvas is, do you know where to find them? If you don't know where to find the people, then it's not a customer segment. That's going to help you. Most customer segments, we know where the people stay at. For example, if I say medical students, I know they're in medical schools. If I say journalists, I know in what company I can find them. I can even grab my yellow pages and find them. So marketing is, like I said, marketing, targeting, they rhyme. If you can't target the person, you're not in business. So make sure that your customer segments are clear enough that you know where you can find the people. If you don't know where you can find them, then you won't know what they like. You won't
Right.
know what they value, etc. So you create all those hypotheses for your customer segments. They are young, they are hip, they listen to classical music, etc. So these are all hypotheses. And then you do the same thing for the value proposition. I believe they would, they have that problem. They're going through that problem. So I'm going to solve it with that product or that service. Hypothesis, you don't know yet, right? So, and then you start testing, meaning you start, because you know where to find them, you go where to find them and you start having conversations with them. And this is what called customer discovery. Yeah. And in customer discovery, you're not presenting a solution, but you get into know your customer. You're asking your customer, um, what do you think about this? Like open-ended questions. Don't say would you like or do you like? It's more like, when was the last time you did this or you did that? So very open questions, customer discovery. We can have another session on customer discovery. But this is the little brother of market research, which is very expensive. And a lot of entrepreneurs say, well, I haven't launched yet because I haven't been able to do a market research. Well, there's one thing you can do that is similar and close to market research is customer discovery, which is having a bunch of conversations with a bunch of your customer segments and gathering insights to figure out what their pains are, what they're looking for. Do they have alternatives? One of the biggest questions you can ask to validate your business idea is, what alternative are you currently using? Let's pick Joanne, for example, on the catering thing. Um, okay, fine, you want to lose weight. What are you currently doing? If the person says nothing, you don't have a business opportunity there. Because if the problem is big enough, if the person cares enough about the problem, they will have an alternative solution for it. They will have figured something out. That is probably not ideal. That is probably not the best solution, but they have something going on if it's a big enough problem. And in business, you need to be solving big problems. That's where the money is at. So once you have the hypothesis, you can validate or invalidate them by doing tests. So this is the test model options. And then once you have gathered all those insights, well, you won't be able to have 500 conversations in 1 week, right? So you still need to test in the field now. Okay, fine. They told me they would like a product that is this and that, this and that. I'm going to try to do it and I'm going to test it. I will put a price on it. I will, market it and see how many people bite. And when you do that, then you can manage it. You can adapt to the feedback that they give you. Natalie said, my 20-year-old son has a clothing business. Woo! Do all the strategies work for that young age customer group? Who are mostly on TikTok, IG, Twitter, YouTube, of course. Of course, of course, of course. Actually, these things, like, that's the beauty of it. It's science. It works for everything, right? Now, it's just a matter of knowing what do they like the customer that is targeting. Because at the end of the day, when you're first starting your business, you have to start with a niche. So don't ever try to please everybody. So who is he targeting? First of all, like, does he have a clothing line, or is he allowing people to create their own clothing lines?
So he has his own clothing line, meaning he creates his own brand. So he gets t-shirt wholesale and creates the logos and just does everything. So he's been doing that since 2019.
We need to talk. We need to talk.
Yeah.
Because I'm contemplating that as well. So
Okay.
he just needs to figure out who would wear that.
Right. And it's more of an urban look, right? And so yeah,
Exactly.
he's targeting.
Exactly. So it's the same way. He needs to figure out who wants to like, first of all, what problems are these people having? Is it that they lack self-confidence? Is it an identity thing? They don't know who they are. They don't, or they're afraid of expressing who they are, or they don't have, in terms of clothing, they see it's either you dress as an African or etc. Like, oh, how can I give them something, new, but still fresh that they can have? So what matters to these people? Swag, right? What matters to them? They need to be able to, walk to the streets and be stunting, and they need to be able to look like their favorite rapper, etc. So, but at the same time, still be original. So, for example, if during this customer discovery, it asks a question, it's like, what matters to you? Like when you're pick a set of clothes, what's really the most important thing for you? And if the answer is, I don't know, man, I like to represent myself. I like to represent where I'm from. Then that might give him an idea that, maybe I need to start creating, shirts or hoodies that say I'm from Brooklyn, I'm from Georgia, I'm from, or the name is, and with the name of the person. So it tells you what matters to the person in terms of color as well. You like, maybe you feel like, no, I'm just gonna give them diversity. I'm gonna give them all kinds of colors, all the rainbow colors. But sometimes when you do the customer discovery, you actually figure out that no, they just want black and white. So you just create black and white. So that reduces your costs, and that increases your chances of your piece of item being to be purchased. So customer discovery for me is still like the best thing. Like talking to the customer will literally tell you what next product or service to come up with. So yeah, so it does matter. Like he needs to understand his customer, create the value proposition based on what they care about. And the channels, are they more digital? Do they want to receive the piece of clothing like inside their like house, like so shipping, or do they need to be able to go on a website to choose the color themselves and et cetera, et cetera? So all this information comes from the customer. What type of relationship is it going to create for them? So besides just selling the items, how else can he create? Like, can he have revenue? So maybe like he has those basic models. I mean, like not business model, but like maybe he has those basic pieces for a specific price. And if you want it to be personalized, then you have to pay me extra. So he has a different value proposition for different segments, and that gives him like more money. So there's so many other things. Or look, you want to launch your own brand, and that's why a lot of people are doing right now. A lot of websites right now, that's all they do. So yes, he has his own clothing line, but hey, you want to start your own? I can, design your logo for you and just, put your logo on my clothes, and now it's your clothing line, for a specific cut. Maybe I just do it like maybe you just, have a specific package that you buy once, but maybe I have royalties on that as well because you use my company. So that's another revenue stream. So it's really about understanding different segments and rearranging the model around the customer segment. Because maybe customers, no, I don't want to have a clothing line. I'm not creative. I don't know. But at the same time, maybe that's an opportunity. So it depends on what insights he gets. So same thing. He has resources. Maybe he does the designs himself, but maybe he feels like, you know what? Yeah, I started doing the designs myself, but I don't have, that much of a skill. So maybe I need to hire an in-house designer to create new, fresh looks for the next collection, etc. So that helps him to figure out what resources he needs to do that. Or maybe I'm using a key partner, a website that allows me to just plug in my digital assets and they just drop ship the items for me. Or maybe no, I want to have control on that. So I need an equipment to do serigraphy and actually make the clothes myself. So, he gets to choose. So what are the key activities now? How do I, once I'm done having the shirts, how do I market that? How do I let the people know? How am I just going to be online and, yeah, here, buy, or am I going to turn this into a movement? And maybe we can meet after, I don't know, every basketball game. I don't know. It creates a little something, a little tradition, and that becomes part of a brand or maybe we need to start a little contest where everybody can send selfies wearing the clothes and we get to vote the picture with the most likes gets new clothes. So it doesn't cost me anything. It's just more marketing from my own brand. So there's so many things, right? So you will also understand what that costs and every new segment that he had, and that's also the beauty of business models. Once you have a customer segment and you feel like you have the right value proposition for them, it's on automatic. So you can say, okay, who else can I target? Who else can I create a product for, a service for, to increase my revenue streams? So you can have multiple customer segments here. So just like Apple, for example, and the person buying the iPad is not the person buying the iPhone. It's not the person buying the MacBook, etc. So having different customer segments is one of the keys to having business. So like I said, you adapt to the feedback. Once you created your product, your service, your MVP, your minimum viable product, and then you have to keep adapting it. A lot of entrepreneurs make that mistake. They just stay there. Like they create one product and they never improve it. And that is bad. Like you need to keep taking feedback and keep improving it until you from MVP to commercial, from commercial to ideal. So your ideal product is the one that is more expensive. I mean, gives you more profit margin and satisfies the customer more. So that's very important. So a quick, like some questions to evaluate business models if you already have one. So you ask yourself, what are the weaknesses? What used to work and now what doesn't? So because like COVID flipped every business on its head. So the way you used to market is no longer working. Or what used to work on Facebook no longer works on Facebook because the algorithm changed.
Mhm.
So like, these SWOT analysis needs to happen like almost on a weekly basis. So what used to work and what is not working anymore. Like in terms of value proposition, you came up with three products that you had, and then you realize one of those products is no one is buying them anymore. So what value proposition isn't being purchased now? And what can I replace it with? And how can I find a new or how can I find a new customer segment to buy it?